Hello, this is Mike, NoStressMike.com. Somebody was asking about border crossings, and I've tried to video border crossings. It's a little difficult. What it is, for one thing, how do you call it? The security on these places, they change, and they don't like it when you start taking pictures, and so that's the government's point of view. Now, you find a lot of lowlife hanging around the border, and that's because they don't have what it takes to cross. Either they're criminal types, and so then they can't cross the border like that. They don't have any money. They ran out of money, and that's as far as they could go. And so their visas. See, as American citizens, we can travel pretty much all over the world, and we can pretty much get a visa most anywhere. Some places it takes time to get a visa, and so if you don't have it when you're crossing the border, then you're stuck right there at the border. Can you imagine going through 3 or 4 different countries and then get stopped at a country that won't let you go through? That's what happens. And then so they run out of money while they're waiting, trying to get stuff done. So there's a lot of criminal types. And one good example is one time I was videoing at the border, and right when I turned the camera off, and I was looking down at it as doing something with it, and then a guy walked by me, and in English. This is the Mexican-Guatemala border. In English, he says, people get killed taking pictures here. So you have to watch out, because some people don't like their picture taken. And it didn't go any further than that. And I thought, I can't believe he'd say something like that. All the hundreds of people hanging around down here, like you're going to kill somebody here like that. And then I started thinking, well, in prison, there'll be 100 people right there in the prison, and they'll kill somebody right there, so it can be done. It can be done. So so after that, I started thinking twice about, because it doesn't really, I got some video on it, but like I say, you really don't get the sense of what it's like. There's a lot of strange people there, a lot. And now, probably the worst border that I've crossed was at the Mexican-Guatemala border, and it was down where it's really hot. So it's really hot, and it's really a tough place to. People are all around you, trying to sell you stuff and do stuff, and it's really, really tough. You got to watch for pickpockets, people snatching and grabbing, and just there's just so many things. I'll make a video on that, what happened one time when I was down there with my wife. So, but anyway, like I said, anything can happen. So now, when you do cross borders, you really have to have all the paperwork. Now, the good thing about third world countries, when you cross the borders there and you don't have all the paperwork, you can work out an agreement, and that's where the bribing and stuff comes in. And they'll fix the paperwork where you can get through. Now they've gone to the electronic stuff, and the electronic ones, it starts getting a little bit more difficult. People can't deal with you good when you got electronic way of doing stuff. Most borders for American, it's pretty easy to go on through. Just go up there, you do your paperwork. I've mentioned it on some of my videos that I've made when I've crossed, where I've told you it's taken me an hour to do the paperwork, or an hour and a half. You know what I mean? So, and you don't have to do that. You can just drive right on through. The problem is, once you get in country and then they catch you, and they stop you for whatever reason, and then they want to see your papers, and you don't have permission to come into the country. And then now we're right back to where the bribing and stuff comes in. So I normally stop at the border and see what kind of stuff I need to do. And with Xena, it makes it a little bit harder because I got to have more paperwork. And then like Belize, they wanted even special paperwork for her. So I thought, well, it's not mine. Hell, well, I don't want her anyway. So I dumped her out. I crossed the border, and then I did my hand signals. She just ran across, and everybody just laughed, so it's no big deal. I mean, the governments make a big deal about it. The people themselves, they're good people. It's no big deal. Okay, now, so you want to try to have, and you have to have a passport. Don't think your world passport thing is going to work. There's something about citizens of the world or something. Crap, that don't work. You need a passport. And I say American passport's a very good one because you can get around to most places. I say even when I went to Cuba, now it's illegal for, I don't know if it's changed. I think it's still illegal to go to Cuba. I went in 2000, and at that time, they stamped a piece of paper and stuck that piece of paper in my passport. So that was my permission to be in Cuba. So, and then when I left, they took that piece of paper. So there wasn't no record of me being there. So, because otherwise, it's illegal. So I didn't have permission from the United States to go there. So, but normally you can go places, and normally the people will work with you. Okay, now, one of the things, now, when I'm talking about border crossing, I'm talking about regular borders. I mean, physical, you can see a physical border. Now, one of the things is airports. And that's a whole nother world. Now, when it comes to airports, going through customs and immigration, when you have a physical border where you're walking or driving across stuff like that, it's different. Sometimes they'll pull you off to the side to, go through your bags and go through your car or stuff like that. But on airports, to me, that's why I don't like flying. They're the hardest things. Well, they're not that hard to go through. The problem is, if you have a problem in an airport, you're screwed. Okay, now, it's happened to me twice now. And even, I'd say probably the 80s, I was at the Guatemala airport, and Guatemala City. And they stopped me, and then I was with my daughter, and they held us for about 2 hours. And that was a little freaky. I don't speak Spanish, so I didn't know what was going on. And now I realize what they were looking for was a bribe. But they just held me for 2 hours, and then they let us go. No big deal. And now, and I told you about going to Cuba. And in Cuba, you got off the plane. I went up there, and next thing I knew, they had me go wait in a room. And it was not a good experience. And like I say, they held me for 9 hours. They didn't physically, let me bring this to your attention, they did not physically harm me. Now, the mental stress for a normal person, I would say, would probably be pretty bad. I knew what was going on. I had plans. I knew how to work my way in this thing, I thought. And when we finished up, they had me take my clothes off, and that means when you're taking your clothes off, you're getting put away. Now, I'm not going to tell you the whole story on that, but that's not a good sign. And so, and what it is in airports, the government has total control over you, and they can just snatch you up, just lickety-split. And that's American airports. No different. Okay, the same thing. You're American, you are not an American until they say you're an American. So when you come in that airport, don't get too excited thinking that you're, all cocky, you're an American now, because you're not. They can snatch you up in that airport and just haul you off and, take you to Guantanamo Bay. They can take you anywhere from that airport. You are not an American citizen until they let you go. You do not have any rights at all until they let you get through. And until then, you're no different than anybody else. And so that's why I'm always pleasant anyway in airports. What kind of trouble can I get into? I don't know how I get in all this trouble in the airports, but I don't do nothing. But still, they don't need an excuse when you're in an airport. And now in the United States, they've changed the laws so much now that now they can just snatch anybody up out of the airport, and they don't even. It's no big deal at all now. So it's pretty scary. So I would say you watch yourself in airports. And when you see them, if you ever see them escorting somebody out of the airport, what are you going to be thinking? Well, that's a terrorist. Isn't that what you're going to be thinking? Well, it could be. Or it could be just some person, they decided that they didn't want him to be an American, or, you don't know what it was. They're just going to haul him off, and nobody's going to help you. You don't get no phone call. You don't get nothing. And so border crossings, like I say, you do watch yourself on border crossings. Have your paperwork together and just go along with it. Like I say, we're trained to do what we got to do when we're at border crossings, and that's the only thing you can do. You have no options, and they're going to go through your stuff. If they're going to go through your stuff, there's nothing you can do about it. Normally, like a purse, or like I say, I've got like a butt pack is what I carry, and normally they don't touch that. They'll go through everything else, but they won't go through those things. And like I say, in Cuba, when they started going through that, I knew I had trouble. So, but normally they don't touch that kind of stuff, but they'll go through everything else. But anyway, so border crossings is an experience, and depending on what countries that you're going through, the experience can be different, and it will be different no matter what. All right, thank you. This is Mike, NoStressMike.com.